This is the AEW Dynamite October 2nd, 2024 full show results video which takes place at Pittsburgh's Petersen Events Center. The show opens with Pac cutting a promo with Claudio Castagnoli and Marina Shafir in tow, and he says Wheeler Yuta isn't some soft fluffy creature, he's a lion, and Claudio adds that he and Jon Moxley are still the same guys, so if he has a problem why doesn't he talk to them? This is his home and they have been plans for him, and Shafir says something in probably Romanian since she's Moldovan, and Jon Moxley talks to Bryan Danielson. He says he's going to give him an opportunity to go out on his shield, buried in his backyard, beautifully, and fate's not going to put a better offer on the table than that. On October 12th, he officially relieves him of duty and sends Daddy home for good. Don Callis confronts Will Ospreay backstage before his entrance, wanting to talk about last week, but when Will says he's kind of busy, he takes Kyle Fletcher with him, headed to the airport. The show started with a match between Ricochet versus Will Ospreay for the AEW International Championship. In the end, Ricochet hits Trading Poison Frankensteiners, and Ospreay delivered Hidden Blade. Both men collapse, and it seems both men have their shoulders on the match as the ref counts it, and the match ended in a draw. Ricochet and Ospreay both call for the match to be restarted and Tony Khan gives it the nod. The match continues. Both men go at it with strikes, with Ospreay starting to get the upper hand as he sets up for Hidden Blade, and delivered it, but when he goes for pin Ricochet, Konosuke Takeshita to run in, laying down a beating on Ospreay as the referee calls for the bell. The result of this match was Ospreay won the match by disqualification, and retained the AEW International Championship. Post-match, Takeshita lays Will out with the running knee. Ricochet recovers and Konosuke blasts him with an elbow, flips the crowd the bird, Raging Fire lays him out. Takeshita grabs the International Championship belt and holds it up while the crowd chants asshole at him. Mercedes Moné is interviewed backstage by Renee Paquette, and she says it's been a beautiful 5 years and she's honored and blessed to be a part of it, and she's put together a package of Dynamite's best moments, all of which feature her, of course. She says AEW's future is bright because money changes everything, and MVP rolls up to agree and give her his card and suggests they should talk. We get a look back at the Guns becoming AEW World Tag Team Champions, before going backstage to hear from them ahead of Juice Robinson's match against Hangman Adam Page. The Guns start to say the Juice is loose tonight, but are blindsided by Page with a steel chair, and he lays them out and walks off. Big Bill Morrissey is in the ring for TV time with the Learning Tree, and says it's really about who they become as people along the way, and we can all agree that over the past 5 years we've all become better people thanks to one man, Chris Jericho. He and Brian Keith make their entrance and congratulates Dynamite on 5 years in AEW on their new TV deal, making a bunch of experts look like idiots, and takes credit for the TV deal. He says it's also the 35th anniversary of his wrestling debut, and says he's more focused on nurturing young talent than winning titles, and of course, getting as much TV time as he can. But now it's time for the Ocho to become the Nuve, and he challenges Mark Briscoe to a ROH World Championship match at Wrestle Dream. Enter Mark Briscoe, Kyle O'Reilly, Orange Cassidy, and Rocky Romero, the conglomeration, and Briscoe tells his boys to stand down and Jericho agrees for his boys. Mark says his daddy brought him up to behave like a man, and that means not making excuses, and he could sit here and say he had Jericho beat in New York City, toast, fried chicken, and the only reason he won is because Big Bill goozled him and chokeslammed him so Jericho could roll on top of him. He could say that, but he's not gonna make that excuse because it was a tornado tag and all that was legal as a wrist lock, and he got beat 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring and behaving like a man, and Tails calling it like it is, a spade a spade. And here we are, and he's gonna call Chris what he is, Chris by God Jericho, one of the most influential and finest wrestlers on the planet. And that works out good for him because he'd love to put the notch in his belt of defending the title against Jericho. It's coincidental that the word of the day is consequential, because he's gonna put his legendary head on his wall. Chris says if he wants to beat the Learning Tree, he doesn't think he can do it, but maybe Jay could have. Briscoe immediately gets deadly serious and watery in the eyes as Jericho continues and says everybody knows Mark will never be as good as Jay was, and Briscoe decks him. Mark tells him to get his brother's name out of his damn mouth, and he's gonna get a Briscoe Brothers style ass whooping at Wrestle Dream. Darby Allin cuts a promo in a junkyard, and he talks about riding the bus and getting bullied by dudes who spit at the back of his head and trying to mind his own business because he was outnumbered, but it killed him inside that he wasn't doing anything about it, so he turned around and got in the guy's face, and the guy had a switchblade. He said it looks like he's getting stabbed tonight and lunged at him, and everybody broke up the fight, but it felt so good to do something about it. Weeks ago when Jon Moxley said he wasn't ready to be the face of AEW, he saw those 3 guys, and he wasn't going to lay around, he'd rather get stabbed. Live by the sword, die by the sword, he put everything on the line and he lost. He's got nothing left to lose, so he's making an open challenge at WrestleDream. Hangman Adam Page attacks Rock Hard Juice Robinson during his entrance, brawling on the stage, snapmare into a kick to the spine from Robinson, and he gets a strap out of his ring jacket and whips Page with it. Hangman yells at referee Aubrey Edwards while she tries to restore order and whips Juice into the crowd before throwing the strap deep into the stands. Attacking Juice with a barricade, looking for a piledriver, countered with a back body drop, and Robinson is fired up. Fighting up the stairs in the crowd, trading punches, back down the stairs, Juice tears up a fan sign and then clobbers Adam with a popcorn bucket. Then the match between Hangman Adam Page vs Rock Hard Juice Robinson officially starts, and the result of this match was Adam Page defeated Juice Robinson by pinfall with buckshot. Post-match, Page takes his belt off and fastens it around Robinson's neck to choke him with it. He hangs Juice Robinson over the ropes, and then Switchblade Jay White's music hit, and he makes the save with a lariat. White jawing at him, hammering forearms, Hangman runs away and White gives chase and spears him through a table. Renee Paquette is waiting backstage for an interview with scapegoat Jack Perry when the bus drives up and he gets out. Katsuyori Shibata cuts him off and challenges him to a title match at WrestleDream, and Perry says he'll think about it and walks off, but when Shibata turns to deliver his usual compliment to Renee, Jack blindsides him with an elbow and throws him into the front bumper of the bus, and he accepts. Back from the commercial, Bryan Danielson cuts a promo backstage and he talks about how he's been thinking fuck Jon Moxley all day, but this isn't about either of them. This is AEW's World Championship and they've broken wrestling system, which is why he's challenged Okada tonight. They're one-on-one and Kazuchika broke his arm but not his spirit, and his title and his career are on the line tonight and he wouldn't want it any other way. The next match happened between Dr. Britt Baker, DMD vs Serena Deeb, and the result of this match was Britt Baker defeated Serena Deeb by submission with lockjaw. Post-match, Serena Deeb attacks but Queen Amanata makes the save. Backstage, Renee Paquette interviews Hook and he's mad about his dad getting attacked and says he's gonna find who did it and he's coming for them. Christian Cage cuts a promo and says if we were in awe of what he's accomplished in Dynamite's first 5 years, you don't even know what's coming next, and soon enough he'll have it all, hook, line, and sinker. Back from the commercial, Mariah May is interviewed backstage and she says Willow Nightingale is the definition of failing up and asks how many titles she can lose way into and calls her shady and disingenuous. Willow Nightingale rolls up and they bicker about it, Mariah shoves her and a brawl breaks up that Christopher Daniels and security break up. The next match happened between Iron Savages vs Private Party, and the result of this match was Private Party defeated Iron Savages by pinfall with gin and juice on Bear Boulder. Post-match, Cassidy gets on the mic and says they meant it when they started the year saying they were coming for the tag titles. He doesn't care if his hand and shoulder are messed up, Quinn doesn't care about his pec injury he just recovered from, they will be your next AEW World Tag Team Champions. They beat the Young Bucks once, and they promise they can do it again, and he's feeling froggy and he's ready to jump and they'll fight the Young Bucks here and now. Enter the Young Bucks and they say Private Party seem rather confident and since they have a lot of overrun tonight so let's test that confidence with the tag title match. They advance on the ring before they decide they're not wasting a date on a crappy town like Pittsburgh, and Jack Perry attacks Private Party in the ring. The Bucks join the fray and Katsuyori Shibata makes the save. Christopher Daniels appears on the stage and has an idea, Private Party and Shibata against Perry and the Bucks on Rampage. Renee Paquette interviews MVP backstage and he has a big announcement to make and he thought why not tonight, and he'd like to take a moment to introduce, but Prince Nana rolls up. He says MVP was talking spicy and he forgot Nana was a wrestler and he'll lace the boots up again to fight him tonight. MVP says he doesn't deal with complaints, but this man does, and he introduces his business partner, Mr. Shelton Benjamin, and Benjamin asks Nana what he was saying. Prince freezes up, Shelton says good talk and takes his coffee, which is good apparently. In the main event of the show, we saw a match between Bryan Danielson vs Kazuchika Okada for the AEW World Championship and AEW Continental Championship, but AEW Continental Championship is only on the line for the first 20 minutes of this match. The result of this match was American Dragon Bryan Danielson won the match by pinfall with a backslide, retaining the AEW World Championship. Post-match, Okada hits a Rainmaker on Bryan and flips the bird at Claudio and Pac before storming off up the aisle. Pac and Claudio get in the ring and help Danielson up and hold him in position until Jon Moxley arrives with Marina Shaffer. Mox gets on the mic and says none of this is about him, none of this is what he wants, and he's planning for something much bigger than himself, and everything he does is for something bigger than himself. If it was up to him, he'd have taken care of Danielson a long time ago, and Wheeler Yuta makes the save carrying a claw hammer. He jaws at Claudio at ringside and John slides back in the ring, forcing Wheeler to consider if he's actually willing to use the hammer. Yuta bouncing on his feet, looking for an excuse, and Danielson attacks Moxley and Pac, and Claudio hit the ring and the babyfaces manage to send them packing. Yuta calls out Claudio and Pac and says he's tired of being treated like a child. He's his own man and he'll make his own decisions and fight his own fights. And speaking of fights, next week, Title Tuesday, if they want to get to Danielson they'll have to go through him, too. Brian grabs the mic and makes it clear it'll be a tag team match and the show goes off the air.